Kornheiser, I'm not sure that's the best area to check me for signs of life.
It better be. It better be. We put you in the ground right now.
I don't know.
You'd be gone away.
I was almost in the ground today. I was in jury duty today.
That's not the ground.
It was.
It threw you out, though. You're famous. You can't be on a jury.
I might have, could have.
They would be issuing opening and closing arguments to you.
My jury clothes, you know what I mean? Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, Chris Paul calls out a ref, Kevin Durant hits a debatable milestone, and Steve Young joins us for a playoff preview. But we begin today with the oddity of the point spread in the Atlanta-Philadelphia game on Saturday. The Falcons are a 3-point favorite in that game, despite the fact that they're on the road and playing the #1 seed. Indeed, this is the first time since the merger 48 years ago that the #1 conference seed is an underdog in the divisional round. Wilbon, the Eagles say they feel disrespected. Do they have a legitimate reason to feel that way?
I guess if the Eagles were walking around, picking up the paper or checking their phones and paying attention to the point spread, practice, get better, beat Atlanta at home. It's real simple. You can take all the clippings you want. You can take a printout of the odds makers' choices. You can paste them on every bulletin board in the link or wherever they practice. But then win the game and shut up. That's how you get even.
This point spread is about one person. It's about Nick Foles. Because if Carson Wentz was playing, this would not be the case.
Right.
So this is about Nick Foles. And the question is, can Nick Foles win the game or at least not lose the game so that the ghost of Carson Wentz doesn't dominate the game? I think Atlanta should be favored. Atlanta went on the road last week against a hot young team, much like Philadelphia, and won that game. They had their starting quarterback.
And
Atlanta's been to the playoffs.
NFC champion.
That's right. And this team, this Philadelphia team, it's 4 years since they went to the playoffs. So I think Atlanta's legitimate. But I will tell you, in terms of the question, Nick Foles has a right to feel disrespected at least.
And he should be. But do something about it. See, the problem is they act like the world owes them something. The world doesn't owe you jack. You owe a credible performance to your organization and your city, and go out there and beat Atlanta's butt, and then stand on top of them and beat your chest. You know what I always liked? I've always liked and even admired athletes who took these slights, real and perceived. Michael Jordan, Tom Brady. And you know what they do? They would crush your win.
Do you think that Philadelphia can't win the game? Because I think that I think they can.
I do.
They can run the ball.
I do think they can.
They are #1 in rush defense.
But don't give
They're
me,
#4 in points allowed. They can win.
This is all good. I don't care about any of that. If you feel disrespected, beat somebody. It's your job. Especially in Philly. Nobody feeling sorry for them except you. I don't know why you're feeling sorry for them.
I actually think they can win. Atlanta doesn't score this year like they scored last year.
No,
they don't.
They don't. But they won last week, as you pointed out. Let's move to the NBA, Tony, and jump right to more player-referee beef. Last night it was Chris Paul versus 24-year vet Scott Foster. Paul, at the end of a brilliant performance, was teed up by Foster, who wasn't even within shouting distance. Afterward, Paul said, quote, "Scott Foster at his finest." You know what I mean? He just never fails. He's the man. That's who they pay to see. Close quote. Tony, these are now nightly occurrences for a league at the top of its popularity. Doesn't the NBA need to address this right now?
The integrity of the game is paramount. Some stupid eruption by Chris Paul, you can fine him for that. Nobody cares about that. This is what Draymond Green was talking about the other day, that there's a disconnect, and it's personal. I don't know between all referees and all players, but surely between some referees and some players. And the league has to care about that more than anything else right now.
Agreed, Tony. I mean, the appearance of this sort of delicate balance between officiating and playing, you have to have that. And I'm interested as we go into this now, and it is a nightly occurrence, and there are people on television. I want to hear more about what guys like Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett, who've been in and up and down and have their favorite referees and least favorite referees, and understand the give and take over a period of decades.
Scott Foster was voted the worst referee in the NBA in a poll by the LA Times a year ago.
Well, see, it's still doing the league, if that's true. And by the way, other people have to evaluate him, not just players. But what do you remember? When I say Scott Foster, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Nothing to me.
Magic Johnson's only physical confrontation with an official came in 1996 with Scott Foster.
So that sounds to me...
Who was in his second year,
That sounds to me like you are inclined to think Scott Foster's the problem, not Chris Paul. But we both know Chris Paul is an irritant. And we both presume that this personal thing between them could be equal parts of one and the other.
Yes.
But the refereeing problem on a larger...
It's a bigger thing than that. So what is it? I've heard some guys say, and I've just been trying to get some players on the phone, Tony, that the newer officials, the younger guys, don't talk to them. You covered the league a long time. You know contentious guys. Was it like this every night then?
No, it really wasn't. But in those days, players didn't make so much more than all the referees, and players weren't venerated to the degree they are now, starting when they're 13 and 14 years old in AAU basketball. It might be a different culture of player now, and I don't know. You're closer to it than I am.
Hard to get a handle on.
Kevin Durant scored 40 points last night in a loss and became the second youngest player ever to get to 20,000 career points. The youngest is LeBron James, who did not go to college at all, and Durant went for 1 year. Here are the other three fastest to 20,000. Kobe, Wilt, Michael, all one-name guys. Wilbon, is 20,000 a mark of significance?
Only when put into context. Number of games. Don't give me age. That's just some lazy, stat-gassed person's way of saying, oh, here's what we know happens. You don't know anything. Wilt Chamberlain took 499 games, not 700 plus, to do this.
Yeah.
Wilt is the answer. Everybody else, take a step back.
That's right.
Okay?
That's
It doesn't matter how young you are. Guys don't go to college for 3 and 4 years. And Wilt even played a year with the Globetrotters, am I right? Mm-hmm. So Michael Jordan was in the 600 range of that. Kareem was in that range. It's great that Kevin Durant does it. It's great, but don't tell me age.
We talked about this the other day briefly, off air and on air as well. Baseball is the sport where the numbers matter. Yeah. Everybody knows 60. Everybody knows 714, 755. Everybody knows what
56.
20. Yeah, everybody knows these things. We went back and forth, and I asked you, what do you think the greatest amount of touchdowns in a career is? I said maybe 320. You said maybe 350. It was 539. We had absolutely no idea.
Didn't matter.
I have no idea the most yards gained by anybody in the NFL. What I do know is if Jim Brown played that many years, he would have had the number.
That's right.
Like, he would have had the number. So in basketball, you get to the Hall of Fame. You certainly get to the Hall of Fame if you score 30 or 40,000 points, whatever it is. But mostly, Kevin Durant's going to get there because he's an MVP and he's got a ring. He may get more. He's in. He's in.
I think the points can matter only in context. Sitting around a locker room, guys will know how many points so-and-so had, and it's the company you keep. That's the thing. That's what's impressive about Durant, and he's there.
Oh.
But he's not ahead of him. There's no notion. He's the second youngest. Shut up.
Yeah,
You're a moron for citing that without context, whoever you are.
So Wilt was that far ahead.
499.
And nobody knows who he is now. Nobody knows.
Kareem, Michael, these guys are in the 600 games. It's okay if you're 750 or 780, but don't say you're ahead of them and you're the second anything.
No.
You got to come to my side, to the old man side, and shout down these stat keepers who don't have context. What's wrong with you?
Wait.
Get out of your jury room being not selected and come over to my side.
I've got to get to your side being an old man.
Yeah.
I'm older than you.
Oh, yeah. Well, someday you don't act like it. Like today, you got that sweater on. The hiring of John Gruden in Oakland has led to an awkward situation between the Raiders and the Fritz Pollard Alliance, which oversees minority employment at the highest levels of the NFL. At issue is whether the Raiders had an agreement with Gruden before talking to any minority candidates. And complicating the issue is the Raiders' stellar record of diversity at all levels of that organization.
Yeah.
Tony, given that, what do you do if you're the Pollard Alliance, and what do you do if you're the NFL?
Okay. It can come as no secret to anyone that Mark Davis wanted to hire John Gruden. He's been trying to hire John Gruden for years. John Gruden used to be the coach out there. When he introduced Gruden, he introduced him with this indelicate phrase, this is a big effing deal. And he did that publicly. Now, if you have a rule and you break the rule, I suspect the Raiders broke the rule here. And what's interesting to me, I have two conflicting things. Okay. One is if you own a team, I think you should be able to hire who you want. I mean, I just do. The second thing is, though, I don't think they were competing with anybody for John Gruden. Because John Gruden had turned down a million teams in the past. So I think they probably could have gone through all of the legal motions here. But if you want to hire Gruden and you reach an agreement in principle, that doesn't strike me as a terrible thing.
Here's the problem I have with it. They're rules. We always talk about
That's right.
There's a rule. There's a rule
and
that
they're
says
absolute. Rules
you
are
can't
absolute.
say certain things to the referee.
That's right.
You get teed up.
That's right.
All right?
That's right.
Now, let's go back to context for everything. There's a couple of organizations to me that, as a black man in America, I say, you know what? I got to give them a little.
The Raiders are certainly one of them.
Rope.
Yeah, you got them.
The Raiders, I know. The Dallas Cowboys,
Yeah.
the Los Angeles Dodgers, You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, in our homes, the Dodgers, our fathers would have smacked us if we had said anything cross about the Dodgers. And they earned it.
They got Tom Flores. They got Art Shell.
They got scouts. They got GMs.
They got Reggie McKenzie.
They hired Amy Trask to be the president of the. So they get more benefit of the doubt than everybody. But
what's the but?
But do they have to follow the rules anymore? What's Fritz Pollard supposed to do? I guess you could say, listen, we're gonna give a pass to the Raiders. Because they do this. They're the blueprint for how to do it. Like the Dodgers.
That's right.
They're the blueprint. We're going to let this go.
The problem with rules is that they are absolute and there's no context and there's no nuance. Here's the other but I would ask you.
What?
Al Davis did all that stuff.
Does Mark... He seems to be in the same class.
So you would say that Mark inherits the past
seems like the same
that we would have given to Al.
Seems like his old man. Seems like he seems like.
So you're suggesting that maybe on this one they tuck it in a corner somewhere?
You talk to Mark. You say, Mark, what is this? Is this a one-off? What we got here? Let's
take a break. Coming up, have Wilbon and I been too hard on the Jags? Really? Could they actually upset the Steelers? We're going to ask Steve Young.
Wait till you hear his answer. We'll also ask him how the Eagles can put Nick Foles in the best position to succeed on Saturday.
If you're talking to John Gruden and he says, I want the job, you know you're going to give him the job.
And you might get hit.
With what, a draft choice?
I don't know. Maybe you can make it different. That's how this rule got to be in place.
We are fewer than 47 hours away from the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, but even better, we're just seconds away from a guest appearance from PTI favorite Steve Young. In fact, here he is now. Let's start with this. Wilbon and I have been totally dismissive of the Jaguars, but they beat the Steelers handily earlier in the season. You have backed the Jags this season. You like them. But do you like their chances in this upcoming game?
Well, I like them, Tony, because we talked about this vicious defense, but it ends up that this defense and the rushing defense is like almost last in the league. And so as long as the Steelers don't get hubris and say, oh, you mauled us early in the year and we're going to throw our way, and Ben Roethlisberger, I threw 5 interceptions, I'm going to throw 5 touchdowns today. As long as they don't do that, because the Jaguars are ready for that one. But as you can run the football, and Blake Bortles doesn't have some, extraterrestrial event that changes the kind of the trajectory of everything, I think that the Steelers are in pretty good shape. But I think, the hubris of the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think, is the only thing that can get in the way of a victory.
So you mean like close encounters of the Blake Bortles kind, the extraterrestrial event? I love that.
Well, he compared himself to LeBron James today, so I don't know.
We have been even more dismissive, Steve, of the Titans' chances against the Patriots. So tell us something, anything that they could actually do to make this a real game or even upset the Patriots in New England.
To me, the Tennessee Titans are the team that we would see a lot in the divisional rounds where they're good, decent defense and got some, but they're not a threat. They don't do anything that really worries you. At least the Jaguars play vicious, pass defense, and they can shut you down and you can keep you under 10. The Titans, in my mind, can't do any of that, and they ran well last week, but in many ways, I don't think you can count on that. So to me, going to New England, what's the way that they can win this football game? It's Marcus Mariota has to throw his way through it. He's going to have this supreme game where he throws for 300 yards and 3-4 touchdowns and just expands on everything that he did last week. I can't imagine any other way that they can compete with the Patriots.
So there is some doubt about Blake Bortles at quarterback, and there is some doubt about Marcus Mariota, as you're alluding to, at quarterback. There's a lot of doubt about Nick Foles at quarterback. So how do the Eagles best put Nick Foles in a position to succeed?
I worry about a backup quarterback that hasn't played a ton. He's got a month. I'm grateful for that. But the playoffs are so different, and they're running into a team that's a buzzsaw now because they're a veteran playoff team. They've got a chip on their shoulder, and they've figured out the whole new offensive coordinator. We're going to run the football first, and you saw that last week in L.A. So in my mind, Nick Foles needs to be – they're going to have to raise the risk profile. He can't just manage this game and go win it. He's going to have to be a reason that they win it. And that risk profile goes up dramatically for a backup. And so that's the challenge. The last couple of games that Nick played didn't go so well. And so the risk, in my mind, is a little bit beyond what we can expect him to handle in a playoff scenario. So I'm worried And I think Philadelphia Eagle fans should be worried as well that Nick can rise to that occasion and face the Atlanta Falcon defense.
We're just going to play right in there. We'll just say on quarterbacks. Quarterbacks 4,000, right? And we go to Case Keenum and the Vikings, and he's going against Drew Brees. I mean, he came in a journeyman. He's taken more than 2,600 virtual reality reps this season. You're a Silicon Valley guy. First of all, tell Tony and me what the hell that means.
What does that mean?
And do you believe in it?
Okay, so
what
they put a little stand behind practice. And then the camera's there, and then it basically takes a 360 of practice. And then you can go back in, and you can kind of stand in the quarterback and be in the quarterback in this virtual reality and go through practice and watch where, you know, the camera goes and where you look and everything. And it's like you went through practice yourself. So for me, and Stanford did a nice job. They have been doing this for years for the Stanford Cardinal football program. And I went through and watched it. It's great for backup quarterbacks. If you're not getting a lot of reps, tremendous. Go through practice 10 times, 100 times. You can get better doing that. And it's great for off season. You know, stay sharp, make sure that your skills are right up there. But for the starter, I don't want to go back through it. So for Case, I think it's a great tool for a journeyman, a guy that's not had a lot of reps, that hasn't had a lot of the honing of skills. And you can go through, I mean, to me, you have a lot of free time. 26, did you say 2,600? Let's go to 26,000. Why not? I mean, let's just, because I think there is something to it, to kind of hone your skills so that you can be looking in the right place and going. I find virtual reality is a real thing, and most colleges and some pros are doing it. I think it's a great thing to add.
Really? So, like, if I get up there on a golf mat and I hit a ball into a screen, and they tell me how far I hit it, that's not like being on the course. It's different.
No, but yes, it is. Look, my home course is the PGA Superstore. What are you kidding me? That's all I do. That's all I do is Monroe Country Club. I mean, I really need, everybody needs the mental reps. I think there's something to it. I think you go down your basement with a net. You know that, Tony. You can go practice and you can it's not like being on the field. I get that. But there's something there. It's not nothing.
All right, we'll get you out of here on this. Being a quarterback, you watched Marcus Mariota throw the ball and end up with it himself and score a touchdown. Is that the dream scenario for a quarterback?
I almost did it. I was playing the Falcons. I scrambled out, threw the guy, and I can't believe he didn't catch it. And he batted it back. I caught it, and then I got tackled at the 1. Tony, at the 1. I almost scored, and then when Marcus did, I didn't know it had ever happened. Who knew that Brad Johnson had done it? I mean, that's offensive to all of us that can run around. And I know Brad well, so, you know, he can take that. But the fact that Marcus did it in a playoff game and it was the pivotal game, the pivotal play in the game, and a big playoff win, I mean, that's the dual threat quarterback's dream, is to throw a pass, catch it, and score. I almost did it, Tony. What I could have been. What I could have been.
Could have been a contender. Great. Thank you as always, Steve. Thank you.
All right, boys, take care.
Let's take one last break. Still to come.
That is great.
How should the NBA punish your boy Rodney Hood?
I like Rodney Hood.
For what he did to this fan's phone.
Deport him. And are the Panthers and Bears making good hires at offensive coordinator? They made good hires at quarterback, one of them.
How great that Steve Young could have been a contender. Could have got his foot into the end. Happy time, people. Happy 28th birthday, Malik Jackson and David DeCastro. Malik Jackson is the Pro Bowl defensive tackle and pass rusher for the Jacksonville Jaguars. David DeCastro is the Pro Bowl right guard for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So at various times on Sunday, these two birthday boys are going to be locking up. I wonder what presents each will give the other.
The Jacksonville Jaguars in the regular season with 55 sacks, and they got that nickname. It's not the Steel Curtain. It's not the Purple People Eaters. It's not the Fearsome Force.
It's Saxonville, my friend.
All right?
Saxonville.
And I know you agree with me.
Could be ancient England. A not so happy anniversary, Des Bryant. On this day 3 years ago, your magnificent fourth down catch near the Green Bay goal line was ruled incomplete after a Packers challenge. Des Bryant is patient zero in the plague that is what is and what is not a catch in the NFL. This is the rule that must be sorted out because it results in some of the worst calls in all of sports.
You're right, but don't forget Calvin Johnson's no catch against the Bears in 2000. It was earlier, but it was a regular season game. But this
was the big one. That was the big one. Happy trails to this fan's phone. After being ejected last night with the score tied at 74 late in the third quarter, Utah's Rodney Hood took out some of his frustration on the fan's phone, whacking it into the aisle. Hood was bounced for jawing a little too much at John Wall, but Utah got the last laugh, pulling away from Washington from this moment on. Joke.
The bad loss for the Wizards. By
Yes.
the way, more player-referee beef. You can't go a game now without this going on. What's up?
Draymond Green for commissioner at this point. Let's go to the big finish.
Let's do it.
Offensive coordinator hires. The Panthers are close with Norv Turner.
Wow.
And the Bears are bringing on former Oregon coach Mark Helfrich. Okay? You okay with both?
I have no idea. We know we like North Turner. We like the fact that
Love
he's coming
North
back in
Turner.
the league. We like
Love
that.
him.
I don't know. Albert Breer says Kirk Cousins, your boy, would seriously consider the Brownies. Is this a good idea?
No.
Why
They're
not?
1-31
They need a
last year.
quarterback?
They're a clown show still
They need
until
a
they start winning.
quarterback.
They need more than that. Rafael Nadal and Roger Federer are the top 2 seeds in the Australian Open. Who's the favorite?
Nadal's number 1 in the world. Federer is the defending champ. It's a toss-up. I don't know.
Nice job out of you.
Thank you. Army's challenging the trademark of the Vegas Golden Knights, Tony. Got a suggestion for a different nickname and logo?
No, it's a lovely logo. It's a lovely nickname. Just give Army veterans discounts.
And their owner is an Army guy. He
Just
sort of
do
did
that.
this in honor of, right? Kinda,
Yes,
sorta,
last
maybe.
one. Cavs at Raptors tonight. Who you got?
Hold the Raptors. The Cavaliers don't have anything to prove tonight. The Raptors do.
We're out of time. We'll try and do better the next time. And I'm Tony Kornheiser.
I'm Mike Wilbon. Same time tomorrow, Knuckleheads. You can get the PTI podcast on the app or Apple Podcast.
Write it down. 2 years and 4 months from today, jury duty in the District of Columbia.
Yes, sir. Get your jury clothes on.
Yeah.
PTI.